Is AEW Fight Forever dead? The game released on June 29th, 2023, and being just a month removed from the game's release, it really doesn't seem to be grabbing anybody's attention anymore. From the general sentiment online is that people have moved on from the game in this very short window. And I think there are some fundamental problems and challenges that we need to discuss regarding the game, and why players have seemingly moved on so quickly from this wrestling game. One of the things right off the bat that I think hindered the game's experience and chatter overall online was going to be the almost 4 years it took of development to put this game out. Now, development for a video game would take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources. What do I know? I'm just the big dummy in the chair. But with reported delays of the game, the release being pushed back, and then finally getting the game out for the summertime, and then getting a full price tag release of $60, I think fans were really hoping that they were going to get this nostalgic throwback arcade experience with a ton of stuff to do and put on some crazy matches. But the real full sentiment with wrestling fans, with fans of this genre of gaming, Fight Forever seems to be very limited, and people have kind of done everything they can do in the game. Personally, I played the first 2 weeks of the game really hard. With the full review, the launch of it, I wanted to make sure that I got my hands on everything the game had to offer. And once I completed the career mode and played as all of my favorite AEW wrestlers, I kind of felt like I had done everything and then there wasn't much else to do. I know the career mode has some replayability, but not for me. I didn't want to grind it out over and over again to get minor changes within the story itself. I thought the cash option system was a good addition to the game, and it's got a lot of promise, but I don't think that there's enough depth there. And when so much of the cash options and rewards were for the Creation Suite, the Creation Suite on both Create a Wrestler and for Create an Arena are so limiting that it really doesn't feel like it's even worth investing your time and energy into trying out those modes. And with the full match list being a 1-on-1 match, 2-on-2, 3-way, 4-way, the Casino Battle Royale, and the mini games, I originally thought there's a good chance here that there's a lot of value within just customizing the matches, but there isn't. And for someone like me, that's what I was hoping this game would offer to me. Going into a 1-on-1 match and we have the Lights Out, which is a no DQ match, Falls Count Anywhere, which is, again, it's a no DQ match, ladder match, exploding barbed wire death match, they're all great concepts, but they lack the depth, and I think they lack the replayability that players were looking for. There's a lack of options overall in the game, and I think that's what's hurting it right now. I can't toggle DQ on and off and a lot of the different basic menu options when I am doing just a standard 1-on-1 match. The barbed wire death match is cool, but after a few times, you've seen the animation, you've gone through the clock counting down, and I don't think that there's a lot of replayability there. It's not enough incentive for me to come back and redo this match. Even though it's got some fun quirks to it, I don't feel myself going back to it. And that's the same thing when it comes to tag team matches. I can't do a tornado tag team. I can't do a tag team ladder match. 3-way, 4-way matches are standard and that's fine, but where's the no DQ option? Where's the 3-way dance, 4-way dance, elimination option? And we get the Casino Battle Royale, which is great, but why not just have a regular Battle Royale option? And so even with Fight Forever not being able to deliver a wide gambit of 20, 30 different match types, I think some core fundamental match options are really missing, and that would have drawn me back into this game a little bit more often to be able to customize some match rules so that I would play a little more often. Allow me to create an elimination match or a first blood match. These small things that we actually had way back in the days of No Mercy WrestleMania 2000 are what bring players back into the fold over and over again, because they can figure out different ways to create moments, to create stories, and to create more fun in the game. Then we have the addition of mini games, and this is where I think a lot of players also are not feeling that there's a lot of value, especially when it ties into the DLC. Minigames were added into this game at launch, and they're also part of each of the DLC packs or the whole season pass if you choose to buy that. I was not looking forward to minigames, and I have not gone back to them. I don't find any value in having minigames in my wrestling game, and they're not even tied specifically into wrestling. They are this alternative in the game, and I don't think it was really necessary. And I think players would have got a lot more value if we didn't have minigames put in there, but instead, they offered up maybe a more robust Creation Suite, Create an Arena, or brought back maybe an old mode like Create a Pay-Per-View and being able to create Double or Nothing with a card, with having 5 or 6 or 10 matches, because that's Tony Khan's MO. But Create a Pay-Per-View would have been a great option to allow more depth to the game overall. And while I find the roster itself pretty good. I think there's some big holes in it where we don't have a robust women's roster in the game, and the DLC for this season 1 of content I think has some big glaring problems, and a reason why fans are not really eager to jump back into the game later this summer and into the fall whenever the rest of the DLC drops. I don't think there's enough incentive there. Here's what I mean. Each DLC pack is going to give you 2 mini games as well as 2 wrestlers as part of the DLC pack. The FTR, the Revival pack that came out at launch, I didn't pick it up. And one of the main reasons, outside of just not playing the game all that much, was actually the price point. I think it's way too costly for AEW games to be charging this to players. The overall base game is $60 if you're in Canada. And that's a lot, especially for what is given to you in this game. I think the price tag is very aggressive coming out of the gate, and I think it would have done them a lot more favors with the community if they came out with maybe it being $49.99 or $39.99. The DLC pack is $14.99 by itself. Now you could just get the season pass on its own for $29.99 if you're here in Canada, or you can go with the Elite Edition to give you everything with the season 1 DLC for $79.99. And not to compare it to 2K, because we're not trying to do that here in this video, but we do need to look at the additional content that 2K offers, because it's another big high-profile wrestling game. It's kind of the top of the top, but their DLC packs, they outline the dates of when they are going to be released for the entire year. Players know exactly what they're going to get with the DLC. They know when it's going to release, and they also charge a large price tag for their content, but their individual packs cost less than Fight Forever's. The Revel with Wyatt pack, as an example, is $13.49 Canadian, and in that pack, I get 6 wrestlers. Well, 5 plus Uncle Howdy. And all the other packs are the exact same price with 5 wrestlers included. And the overall season pass is at $49.99 unless you get it on sale. And again, it's not to really compare the two, but they're 2 wrestling games that offer DLC. And Fight Forever has not given players a release date for the upcoming DLC. We don't know when the Limitless Bunny bundle is going to release, which gives you Keith Lee and the Bunny and mini games. So even if you are a really diehard AEW fan, like I really like AEW, I don't know when this content is going to drop. What if you got the season pass, or you were looking at it, or you wanted to get more content for the game because you really do enjoy it? We have no communication as to when the next round of DLC is going to come, and I feel that's a problem, especially for those that bought the season pass. I think people that buy season passes for games deserve to know what the roadmap is for their money. Where is the money going? When is the content going to come out? When can I enjoy more content from the game? But we don't know if the Limitless Bunny bundle is going to come in August, September, October, November. There's no idea when. And why the delay and why the gap? The game has been out for over a month, and we have yet to see any substantial updates to go along with it. Now, I will say the devs over at AEW Games and THQ, they're trying to communicate with players, that they're taking player feedback, that they are trying to formulate a list of all of the top fixes that players are hoping to get with the game. And I think that's great, because that's the communication I think players want to see, especially those that are passionate, that want to support the game, that want to see it do well like me. Because another wrestling game is good competition, and it's an alternative. It's something else to play. But without a clear, or at least some communication of a roadmap of what the fixes are and timelines, players I feel are going to drop off quicker and quicker. The summertime is a hard time to play video games. There's a lot going on. There's the beach, you can go camping, you could just be sitting outside. And then we get into the fall, and with back to school and with more games coming up into the fall, into November, when it's the hot season for new releases, I don't think Fight Forever is going to be high on people's radar unless there are massive changes and improvements made to the game that's going to get players to really want to come back and really get back into this game. We know that AEW Fight Forever is going to come out with Stadium Stampede as a free Battle Royale mode for this summer. And that's great. And that's for online. It's one arena. And so while I think players will jump in, try it out, fun, play with some friends, with it being one arena and one online mode, I don't know if it's enough to bring players back in and replay that over and over again. We don't know for sure until it comes out though, because it could be a lot of fun. But I think with anything, whether it be a Fortnite or a Call of Duty or anything like that, where there is an online mode where a lot of players are jumping in, I think if there isn't a lot of variety and there aren't a lot of maps to choose from, I think players are probably going to quickly jump off after they've tried it a couple of times. Now, could the dev team and everybody surprise us? Absolutely. They could totally be coming out with a large gambit of fixes, stuff takes time, and get things to a point where players are going to be excited to jump back in. But with only a month in to the game's release, players are really sounding like they have just moved on from it. They go back to 2K and they're just doing other things and they're not going to play this game very much. But when the game releases with average scores of 5 or 6 out of 10, and the reviews are very, very mid, players that are on the fence about getting the game in the first place may not have done so just yet. They may just wait for it to go on sale this fall. And I'd probably recommend that right now too. The full price tag, the price of the season pass, the additional content is way too much for players. I think you get this thing reduced, you get way more updates, patches, add-on content for free put into the game to give it more life, increase the roster size, and this game will have a good shot. But until then, at least for me, this is going to be one game that I'm putting back on the shelf.